when Harry reviewed the new Ineos Grenadier, uh,
Yeah.
and its towing capacity and its noise when it was towing on the road going at 6 miles an hour, etc. He
Mm.
then compared it to his L322, which is obviously like, I don't know, 50 grand cheaper. And he
Yeah.
just said that the L322 is actually just better, like a
Yeah.
better car for what most people will need it for.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think about the Ineos Grenadier?
I actually didn't like it, and now I do really like it.
Hmm.
What I like about it is the utilitarian nature of it. So it's like manual handbrake, key in ignition. The boot at pull at the back is manual. I
Yeah.
quite like that, and I like the fact that a lot of the trim inside is actually plastic, so it's like wipeable, etc.
Yeah.
I actually haven't had a chance to drive one yet. I was speaking to someone who did, and he said it
Mm.
drove as well as you could hope for on the road. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's not meant to be a road driving car; it's an off road machine. But
Yeah.
I'm very tempted by it.
Why would you consider that against a used car that is 10% of the price, though? Because a used car that's 15 years old, 10, 15 years old, sure, it has less reliability, but it would have manual controls, the classic handles, the ignition, all that stuff. And I don't know, that's what I mean. It's an interesting USP that they're presenting, but you get a lot of that experience with something, like a used car. And yeah, what do you think?
It's interesting, actually. I was speaking to my wife just last night, and we were kind of looking at different options for replacing this sport that we have. And one
Yeah.
thing we do really both like is the Discovery 4. And in
Hmm.
reality, the Discovery 4 is everything that we like about the Ineos Grenadier.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
it's 40 grand cheaper.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, I would maybe in like 5 years when the Ineos comes down in price, I'd look at it like, no way now. But but certainly the Discovery 4 ticks all of the boxes. And it's actually got more loading capacity in the boot than the
Yeah.
Ineos does. And it'll probably be nicer to drive on the road because they were more road orientated cars.
I think so. I think so. I mean, I haven't driven it, and I haven't researched enough into it. But the other concern I'd have is it's a small brand at the moment, and I assume they have a small production. It's a bit of a hodgepodge between different parts from different manufacturers. That's another thing that would concern me. Maybe 4 or 5 years later, when it's out of warranty, how will you be able to fix? I don't know.
It's quite interesting, I think. But it's definitely a problem for 5 years' time now,
Yeah,
rather than right now.
yeah,
Um, But what's interesting is that the Queen, the late Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II,
yeah.
never drove anything that wasn't an L322 as well.
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
like she never drove the L405, like nothing. Always the L322, or she
Yeah.
was being driven in other cars, which I thought was quite interesting.
We all know the photos of her driving the L322, and there are several Range Rovers that been seen driving in L322. Oh, you're correct. I can't remember seeing her driving something else. I know Prince Philip was driving a Freelander too, right? Um, but yeah, it's such an iconic car from that perspective, and that also has contributed a little bit to where the car is today.
Mm. So just on the Grenadier front, Jeremy Clarkson says that he never really understood like why people were that interested in classic Defenders. It's like for the less price you could get a Range Rover that drives way nicer, probably a bit more reliable, and does all the things that most people need to do. Like not many people are taking a Defender to its off-roading limit, and a
Yeah,
Range Rover could probably do about 90% of the same thing. So he
yeah.
said he just never really understood why. What do you think? Are you ever tempted by the old Defenders?
Not really. I've never. I mean, they're cool, and I'd love to drive one once. But I'm not sure I would pay the price to own it. Because if I look at my classic, I was chatting to a fellow enthusiast, and I was showing him some photographs from underneath, and he said, "I said, hang on a second, looks like a Defender from underneath." So I'm sure back in the 90s when they were building these models. I'm sure there's a lot of cross utilization between parts and other things. Like even the engine that I have mine, the 300 TDI, is an engine that you can find in the Defender as well. And it's quite a good engine. And so I think I'm getting some of that experience without having to pay for it. And I also think that, there's a bit of a cult around the Defender that I haven't really caught on with, I think. So I don't know. I'm not. I think they're interesting, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not looking at Defender listings. I'm more of a sort of cheap financial mistakes rather. Yeah.
I was speaking to a local farmer actually recently, and he's a Defender nut. And he used to graze his sheep on some of the fields of the guy who created the TD5 engine. And
Right.
he was chatting to him one day, and the guy said that he made the TD5 engine to last 250,000 miles,
Mm.
which I think there's not many modern manufacturers who say that.
No, I think well, listen, we are in an era of massive consumerism with cars, and I don't think engines are built to last any longer. I think it's also because of people's buying patterns. Everyone's invested in some sort of lease or 3-year deal, and with the new electric cars, I think it's going to be even shorter than that. A shorter lifespan for cars in general before they hit the scrap.
I was reading that the average battery lifespan of a electric car is 8 years, and the average car on British roads is 8 years old. So this
Yeah.
push to electric is like, oh my goodness, like in 8 years' time, we're all going to be stuffed.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what I mean. I drive an electric car on a daily basis. I don't own it. It's sort of a long-term rental. It's a Fiat 500 with about 160 miles range. I know a lot of people hate them. I love them. I love it. I love the electric
Classic.
car. I love driving the electric car. I think they're just perfect for like everyday driving, but I've never spend my money on buying one. I'd rather lease it, and then at the end of the lease, it's just somebody else's responsibility. It's a shame because from an environmental perspective, which is their number one unique selling point, right? I think it's a little bit of it's a bit of a red herring, to be honest, because um yeah, their short lifespan means that they will end up being scrapped a lot quicker. Is that the most sustainable way of in the industry? Probably not.